In Deltarune, you have 3 party members, Ralsei being the weakest, Susie's the strongest, and Chrissy's in the middle. But are they actually? Multiple scenes in the game point towards Kris being stronger than Susie. So that's what I'm gonna talk about in the strong Kris theory. Yeah, I don't know, I can't think of a better name. The first scene that points toward these sees Kris's down sprite. He's them basically just them sitting down and watching the battle, unlike the other party members' down sprites. Susie's completely knocked out on the floor and Ralsei just disintegrates. If Kris was actually too hurt to fight, they'd probably be sprawled out on the floor like Susie instead of sitting down and watching the fight. And also, during the end part of the Keen fight, where Keen hits Kris a lot, Kris has a different sprite that seems more fitting for being downed, which further points towards them actually still being able to fight when they supposedly downed. Also, in the light world, Kris has 10 attack and 10 defense, unlike Frisk in Undertale does, having 0 attack and 0 defense in Pichu, other than their currently equipped gear. But Kris can clearly take a decent amount of hits in the light world, which further points towards them being stronger than they appear to be. Kris pretending to be weak is further supported by the fact that Kris has X-Slash in the Spanton fight. If you can swing your blade for ice with a bunch of strength, then why aren't you doing it anywhere else? Like, come on. He's clearly holding out on the player unless they really need to, like when they're against Spant and you're by themselves. Well, they're clearly going striking way harder than they're normally able due to fighting for their lives. In this case, likely, it does show that they're capable of outputting damage similar to Susie's, because X-Slash deals more damage than Rudebuster and at a way cheaper cost than Rudebuster. If you wonder why I said Kris went all out on these fights instead of just using their true strength, it's because Kris loses the ability to use X-Slash at the end of the Spanton Neo fight. Kris clearly doesn't want you to use their friends for stuff, but then why would they lose the ability to use X-Slash unless they're just too tired to use it again? Which is why I think that's what happens. And during the Tenor fight, if you've done the stuff to get the Shadow Metal, Kris will do way more damage than normal, which further points towards them being stronger than they're made out to be. Kris also does a ridiculous amount of damage to a knight if both allies are downed, which I think he's then taking out their anger on the allies being defeated, but they don't have access to X-Slash because they still are allied with the knight in some way. So they just fight until the knight decides to down them. And Kris does a decent amount of damage when one ally is swooned, which I think is around Kris's true damage when they're not going all out but aren't holding back at all, which is around Susie when they're going all out damage, which I think is pretty interesting. Of course, Kris not holding back at all would include them being able to use X-Slash, but other than that, they're not holding back. Kris having 1 extra HP from this event could also be them trolling the player by saying, okay, I'm gonna take 1 HP extra of damage before pretending to be downed, but that would also imply that Kris knows exactly how much HP everyone has, which is interesting. Kris can also take more hits when they're by themselves, which I think further points towards them pretending to be downed. The climbing segments and X-Slash point toward Kris also being really fast and able to swing their sword at really high speeds. During the Titan fight and the Titan's Bond fight, Kris's allies have the ability to revive them. He also uses healing magic, but Susie just tells Kris to get up, and it works. Which I think further points towards Kris just pretending to be downed, and Susie's finally noticing. Also, I just want to say the lengths Kris can survive without their soul probably also points towards them being way stronger than they're made out to be. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Kris is way stronger than they're made out to be, and that's strongest theory. Really couldn't think of a better name. But yeah, see you later, I guess.